steaming around the island of Sodor now for 80 years. Of course, the original stories were written by the Reverend Wilbur Awdry. They were written, I think, for his son Christopher, inspired by a little wooden toy angel. It was Awdry's wife who encouraged him to publish the stories. And in 1979, writer and producer Britt Allcroft came across them and arranged a deal to make the TV series that you and I all know and love. And was voiced by...
Thomas was waiting at a junction when a bus arrived. "Hello," said Thomas. "Who are you?" "I'm Bertie." "Who are you?" "I'm Thomas. I run this branch line." "So you're Thomas, eh? I remember now. You got stuck in the snow."
That is, of course, the voice of Ringo Starr. And as if you know, many years ago, I used to do show business for the Sun newspaper, and he told a brilliant story. I can't tell it, but we were some at awards dinner, and Ringo said he'd just been asked for his autograph, and he told someone backstage, and they said, "Well, of course you did, Ringo. You're the drummer in the Beatles." And he said in that little way, "Wasn't the drummer in the Beatles because I was the voice of the flipping Thomas the Tank Engine." I might have changed the word in that, but it gives you an idea of the story. So what is the enduring magic, and what of this mystery, or not mystery, unseen version of the original pilot episode? Scott Bryan, TV critic and broadcaster, joins me now. Okay, let's start with the first of those questions. What is the eternal magic of Thomas and Friends? Morning.
Morning. I mean, I think it's the fact that it's been so well crafted. I think everyone's got memories of watching it when they were growing up. It's certainly the case for me. I think it's a fact you've got Ringo Starr's narration. I think it's a fact that the adventures are relatively straightforward to to sort of follow. And I think it's a fact that it's been sort of passed down from generation to generation. I mean, it's bizarrely, I find a lot of people around my age sort of share Thomas the Tank Engine as jokes, as memes on the internet. You know, just that kind of, it's got that enduring, sort of quite innocent appeal for it. So essentially, there's unseen footage from the very first 1983 pilot episode that they have sort of crafted and put back together digitally. They've also brought on Mike O'Donnell, who is the series composer for the original series. He's made a bespoke arrangement for it. So it's essentially kind of very much the very first adventure they sort of put back together for people to enjoy for the 80th anniversary.
I read in the papers it was a global hit. You know how journalists like to oversell things. Did it travel?
It traveled because it was very relatively easy to sell, I think. I think it's also the fact that it is a very sort of distinctive animation. I mean, you can really tell it apart. I think what's rather interesting is how sort of loyal and I think quite defensive people are about it, because they rebooted it in 2021, and this was with Mattel Television. It was made in North America rather than in the UK, and you wouldn't believe, Nick, the amount of anger that it produced, because it seemed to have stripped away a lot of the original charm of this series. It felt very much alike to a lot of American animation you see now. So very fast-paced, very sort of trying to, quite generic, I think, in its approach. And of course, all of the music and the charm and the sounds of the trains were all kind of stripped for just a very conventional sort of pop music.
You've nailed it, haven't you, Scott? Because I go back, so my sons are probably about your age, roughly, maybe a little bit older. So I'm watching this with my two sons in the 90s, and the charm, and I'm not being, it's a fantastic show, but its charm was almost, it was amateurish compared to what you were seeing in a US product. That's a fair summation, isn't it?
I think it is a fair estimation. I think it's also, we have to be mindful of the fact that, times have changed. Kids these days just have that expectation of there being a very fine production quality. You might be able to have like a kid watching maybe an old episode of Bagpuss when they're a certain age, if they've not watched TV before. Yeah. But I think after a certain while, they see everything else. They go to the cinema, they see where the level of animation is, and they kind of want that to be reflected. I think a wider issue there is in kids' TV generally is educational versus entertainment issue, because of course now these days in streaming services, you are having a real wide variety of animation from all around the world, but whether it's actually teaching them anything, whether it's got the ethos of sort of children's programming from old, I think that's a concern, because it's great to have kids, I think, watching kids TV because they do learn things, but are they learning enough? I think that's a big question.
Really enjoyed our conversation. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you. Scott Bryan, TV critic and broadcaster, talking about 80 years of Thomas the Tank Engine. I didn't know until I read in today's Daily Express we no longer call him the Fat Controller. He had to be known as Sir Topham Hatt now. When I used to watch, he was because he is fat and he's the controller. But of course, these days you're probably not Probably needs a trigger warning. Needs a trigger warning. Talk about some Topham Hat. If you want to read more about the Lost Pilot episode, go to the LBC app, where you can read a piece written by one of its creators, Ian McHugh, who also features, as I say, in the newspaper coverage. But get more on the LBC app. Let's get sadly back into the world of tool theft. At least we had a pleasant diversion. Pav says, I've lost £29,000 worth of tools. I was in the shop when